I'm sorry, what? I asked, even though I'd heard her just fine. But HR Barbie just smiled wider like she was pitching me a discounted cremation package. We're outsourcing your role by Monday, okay? Okay, okay? I'd been here 18 years. 18. That's longer than 3 of the CEOs combined. I'd onboarded half the exec team, knew every compliance loophole they swam through, and had trained the last 3 interns who now think pivot table means changing yoga poses. And now some fresh out of Bumble HR rep in a pastel blazer was kicking me to the curb with a chirpy okay, like we were settling a brunch bill. The Zoom silence felt like church after a scandal. I stared back into the pixelated abyss and smiled. Not the kind of smile you give when you're okay, the kind of smile you give right before you burn down the barn for the insurance money. She kept babbling. We'll offer you something modest, given your tenure, but you'll need to sign today just to keep things clean. Clean, oh honey. I muted myself before I laughed, not because it was funny. Because if I didn't, I'd start sobbing or snapping necks through the webcam. And before we go further, hey, if you've made it this far, can I ask you for something small? Seriously, like 2 seconds. Turns out 97% of you are listening to these stories without hitting that subscribe button. Help a girl out and tap it, yeah? I'm trying to hit my first 10,000 subscribers without selling foot pics. Let's keep the dream alive. Anyway, back to my own personal HR horror film. While she started uploading a PDF with a name like Voluntary Exit Agreement Janet Final PDF, I was already opening a different file on my desktop. A folder I hadn't touched in 6 months. Hidden behind my Q4 budget spreadsheet was something I called mismatched socks, because that's how they treated people like me, worn, stretched, and ready to be tossed when they couldn't find a match. Inside were receipts. Not CVS-length kind, but the kind that ruined people. Email threads from 2019, when they dumped Ed from facilities 2 weeks before his heart surgery, saved them $11,000 in extended coverage. A memo from legal urging managers to phase out legacy personnel quietly to avoid ageism flags. Slack screenshots of VPs joking about wringing the pension juice from older employees before booting them. I even had a selfie one director took at happy hour, drunk off his ass, flipping the bird under a whiteboard that literally said Monday cap equals max severance. He'd posted it to his private Insta. I had it saved. And there it was, the golden goose, Monday cap draft V3 final XLSX. God, I loved when their arrogance matched their version control laziness. I'd known it was bad, but I didn't know how bad. They'd created a whole system. If you were over 40, made more than 75K, and had been with the company longer than 5 years, you got the Monday cap. No exceptions. It was a stealth severance ceiling. They pretended it was standard, but it was designed to give older employees the smallest payout legally possible. So while Barbie droned on about next steps, I was already taking mine. Quiet ones. I thanked her for her time, promised I'd think it over, and ended the call like a good little relic. Then I closed my laptop, lit a candle, not for peace but for concentration, and started my checklist. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. I wasn't just going to make noise. I was going to make music. The thing about betrayal is it doesn't scream, it seeps. Like mold under cheap vinyl flooring, by the time it smells, the rot's already structural. Saturday morning, I made a pot of coffee strong enough to sand paint and cracked open the folder I swore I'd never need. Mismatched socks was always there, quietly accumulating decade after decade of corporate grime, like lint behind the company fridge. I never thought I'd use it, just kept feeding it out of habit, like some paranoid squirrel with a grudge. The first file was a PDF chain titled Exit Protocol 2016 Amendments. I'd flagged it back when they changed language from minimum severance standards to manager discretion encouraged. Back then, they called it Agile. Now, it looked like a loaded gun pointed at anyone with a 401k. Next was a cluster of emails from 2020, where a regional director tried to argue for a more generous package for a retiring employee with stage 3 breast cancer. HR's reply: we must remain consistent with Monday cap protocols. No empathy, no shame, just policy by spreadsheet. That woman died 6 weeks later. They sent a fruit basket. Then came the bonus justification docs. I knew they were shady, but digging into them again? Christ. The bonuses weren't just generous, they were weaponized. Severance cuts from Q2 directly funneled into leadership retention incentives for the same execs who were rubber stamping layoffs. It was all there: timestamps, amounts, the names of the axed, the sizes of the golden parachutes. One VP got a $68,000 efficiency bonus the same week 5 assistants were restructured. That's when I opened it. The file I'd only skimmed out of morbid curiosity once before. Monday cap draft V3 final. It was a spreadsheet from hell, gift-wrapped in Arial font. Column A departments. Column B average severance per employee. Column C target cap by tenure. Column D deviation from legal minimum. And there, bolded in red, was a row labeled Legacy Staff 10+ers. My name wasn't on it, but it might as well have been carved in bone. The kicker? A note off to the side that read, be advised, Monday cap language should remain internal. Do not disclose to impacted staff. Use discretion. Messaging focus, market shifts, strategic pivots, appreciation of service. Appreciation of service. They'd gutted us for sport, buried us with fake gratitude, and hoped the stink wouldn't rise until Q1 earnings. I sat there staring at that note for maybe 10 full minutes. The only sound in my apartment was the ticking of the wall clock I got at my 10-year anniversary party, the one they'd ordered off Amazon and spelled my name wrong on. I could have screamed, I could have cried, but instead I started labeling files. Each one got a folder: discrimination patterns, severance skimming, bonus fraud, Slack threads tasteless. I knew I had a backup stored on 3 drives, 2 cloud accounts, and 1 encrypted stick I shoved into an old Altoids tin behind the fuse box. I wasn't just protecting myself, I was arming up. I thought about the ones who'd already gone. Harold laid off the week his wife started chemo. Teresa, who'd mentored me when I was fresh out of college, retired early, even though she'd begged to stay. All silenced. All gone. But not me, not this time. Thought they were done with me. I wasn't even warmed up. By Monday morning, I had my resignation doc open in one window and a nest of tabbed spreadsheets open in the other, like some sick game of corporate Sudoku. HR thought I was just another old canary willing to sing one last song before keeling over in the cubicle coal mine. And hell, maybe I was singing, but it sure as shit wasn't the tune they expected. I clicked through the exit form. Voluntary separation. That line alone almost made me vomit. Voluntary like a firing squad with a menu. We'll give you 2 months base pay, it said, as if 2 months was a blessing for 18 years of cleaning up everyone else's fire drills, forgotten logins, and quarterly panic attacks. They wanted me to sign off on a whisper. NDA, non-disparagement, binding arbitration. I was supposed to shut up, go home, maybe reemerge in 6 months with a sad little Etsy store and a smile stretched thinner than their ethics. Not happening. Instead, I cooperated. I filled out every field like a good girl, all while cross-referencing numbers. Because unlike HR, I actually read things. The file name Q4 projections headcount impacted kept popping up in different folders. So I dug. That's when I found the pattern. Every single employee over 45 who made more than $70K and had more than 6 years at the company? Gone by November, like clockwork, just before annual reviews and performance bonuses. They called it streamlining, but the numbers didn't lie. I saw exit dates lined up like tombstones right before disbursement periods. But what made my stomach drop was the line item under a different spreadsheet called Q4 compensation reallocations. A bland name, but that's where they bury the good stuff. There, clear as glass, was a series of dollar amounts that totaled nearly $1.4 million, and next to it a column titled Realloc. Source: severance suppression. I read that again. Severance, suppression. In plain terms, they were shaving down severance packages and funneling the leftover cash directly into executive bonus pools. I scrolled down to Q4 recipients. Names I knew. Faces I'd made birthday cakes for. People who'd sent me holiday cards with "You're the glue that holds this place together," written in fake gold ink. One of them, Alan D., VP of Strategy, had gotten a $93,000 retention performance award on December 17th. That same day, Melissa from accounting was laid off with 3 weeks' pay. She'd been with us 11 years. They weren't just letting us go. They were stripping the copper wiring out of the walls while we packed our desks. Wounded pride doesn't even begin to describe it. I felt disposable, like a used tissue, and that's exactly how they wanted me to feel. Guilt tripped into silence, shamed into compliance. So I clicked back to my fake resignation doc, typed out my "thank you for the opportunity" line, uploaded the PDF just like they asked, but I also dropped a copy of that Q4 reallocation spreadsheet into a personal folder labeled TNT. And right then and there, I decided, if I was their canary, I was going to sing until the damn mine collapsed. I scheduled the exit Zoom for Monday, 9 a.m. sharp. HR replied within 7 minutes, like they'd been hovering with their little pink slip halos all weekend. Great. We look forward to assisting your transition process. Smiling face with smiling eyes. That smiley face hit harder than a barbed wire hug. What they didn't know was that while they were prepping pastel talking points and PDF eulogies, I was building an arsenal. First step, the Slack draft. I opened a blank message in the #general channel, the same one they used to announce birthdays and mindfulness week. I kept it simple at first, just a headline: Leadership Transparency Initiative, please review attached. Under it, I planned to paste the link to the Monday Cap Draft V3 final spreadsheet, along with a short note. This document was used to determine severance limitations for senior staff. I encourage everyone to verify whether similar metrics were applied to their own exit terms. HR, feel free to clarify publicly. No rage, no all caps, just cold, clean fury that reeked of printer toner and payback. But before I hit save, I went looking for one last ace. I had access, you see. Nobody ever revoked my Slack admin privileges from my early days as onboarding queen. That meant I could peek into archived channels, even the ones marked private, if I still had original access. I'd never abused it, not once. Until now. It was buried under a folder called MGMT Lean Discussion Q3. Charming. Clicked through, 4 VPs and a director of ops. The thread was titled Efficiency Targets Legacy Cleanup. One message read, if we trim dead weight like JB this quarter, we'll hit the retention bonus threshold without needing to touch Q1 reserves. Another reply, she's got a pension tail and a mileage addiction. Cut her before the review cycle or it'll cost us. They were talking about me. JB, Janet Burnell. The same initials on every onboarding packet, policy doc and training manual I'd authored in the last 2 decades. Pension tail, like I was some bloated creature dragging down their precious yacht party. But the one that really lit the match came from Alan D. Golden Boy Allen, recipient of that fat Q4 bonus, let her walk quiet. She's old school, not the whistleblower type. I stared at that line. Let it sit in my gut like a swallowed battery, not the whistleblower type. I screenshotted it, 4 angles. Saved it twice, one on a flash drive shaped like a cat, another zipped and passworded inside a folder labeled Tax Docs 2015, and I started building the screen share. Slide 1, Welcome. Slide 2, Severance Fund Reallocations Q4. Slide 3, Slack Excerpts Legacy Cleanup. Slide 4, Monday Cap Spreadsheet Full Screen. Slide 5, my resignation PDF with void stamped across it in blood red Arial. The rest of Sunday passed in a blur of formatting and triple checks. I practiced my tone in the mirror, not to sound angry but surgical. They were expecting tears. I was planning a dissection. By 11 p.m., everything was in place. Drives hidden, drafts ready, laptop charged. I even laid out my outfit, a gray blazer I hadn't worn since pre-pandemic and a scarlet blouse underneath. If they wanted me gone by Monday, then fine. I was taking their lies with me, and I was leaving the receipts nailed to the goddamn wall. Saturday bled into Sunday like a bad bruise. I didn't sleep, I calibrated. Every click was a small act of vengeance. Every document checked, every spreadsheet audited, every file name scrubbed of spaces and typos felt like laying bricks for gallows I planned to smile beneath. I triple-checked file integrity like a bomb tech. Local drive, encrypted cloud, air-gapped USB. Backup uploaded to a private Proton Mail draft under a fake name, Helen from Accounts 87. Because if this whole thing went sideways, I wasn't just getting walked out, I was getting legally scrubbed like a black site prisoner. I didn't plan to go nuclear, but you don't gather this much dry powder without keeping a match nearby. In the middle of building the final package, I paused to name one last file, one I hoped no one would ever need. Read me if I vanish. Inside, a brief note explaining the Monday Cap spreadsheet, screenshots from the Legacy Cleanup Slack thread, a PDF of the severance skimming breakdown, a list of 5 employees, names, termination dates, bonus transfer overlaps, instructions to forward it all to a journalist I once met at a compliance summit. That file went in 3 places: my encrypted flash drive, a hidden Dropbox folder, and a printed hard copy tucked into an old cookbook my ex-mother-in-law gave me. Nobody ever opens the recipes, not even me. Around 2:30 a.m., I poured a shot of bourbon and stared at my own reflection in the microwave door. Not glamorous, but accurate. Are you sure? I asked out loud. My microwave didn't answer, but my pulse did. This wasn't revenge for getting laid off. People get laid off. Life goes sideways, it's the game. This was about how they did it. It was the condescension. The spreadsheets with bloodless language, the pension tail comments. The okay at the end of a sentence meant to erase my career like a typo. They wanted to shrink me into silence. Instead, I was going to be the goddamn siren. I started rehearsing what I'd say. Not a rant, no raised voice, just steel and scalpel. Before I sign anything, I'd like to verify the consistency of this policy across all impacted departments. Let's review some documentation together. Then, screen share. Then, Slack upload to #general. Then, let them decide what burns first, their policy, their image, or their nerve. By sunrise, I was calm, wired from no sleep and too much fury to crash. I took a shower so cold it could have filed an OSHA complaint and picked out a lipstick shade called Execution Red. Blazer was ironed. My files were clean. My finger hovered over the Slack draft. Monday, 8:59 a.m. was coming. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew they'd never forget what came after, okay? Monday, 8:59 a.m. I logged into the Zoom with the same calm as a surgeon about to make the first incision. HR was already there, 3 boxes of beige. Donna from legal, Carl from HR ops, and little Miss Emoji Face from last Friday. Sipping from a pink Girl Boss Fuel mug like this was brunch and not an execution. Their expressions were tight, forced casual. They expected me to be flustered, maybe crying. I gave them boardroom composure with war criminal energy. Morning, Janet, Carl said, adjusting his collar like it was choking him. Thanks for joining. We just want to say we really appreciate your graceful exit. It means a lot during a period of, well, organizational change. Graceful? Like I was bowing out of a figure skating routine instead of being booted out of my livelihood with a severance package that couldn't cover a root canal. Donna chimed in. Let's just run through the logistics, and we'll have you out of here in under 10 minutes. Sure, I said, smiling like a loaded revolver. I just have one quick question before we do. Carl blinked, of course. I leaned forward slightly. Is this severance policy consistent across the board, for all employees impacted this quarter? Silence. Donna looked at Carl. Carl looked at his mug. HR Barbie typed something off-screen, probably a panicked DM to legal. Well, Carl cleared his throat. We apply standard benchmarks, yes, but individual cases vary based on tenure, role, business need. Interesting? I interrupted gently, because I came across something I'd love for us to look at together. And then I clicked share screen. The window opened, full screen, clean as a whistle. File name, Monday Cap Draft V3 Final Tab 1, Severance by Department Tab 2, Legacy Employee Termination Targets Tab 3, Bonus Funding Sources. Donna's face drained like a sink unclogging. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't gloat. I simply narrated. This document was created and circulated internally in Q3. It outlines predetermined caps for employees with over 10 years of service and links severance reductions to executive bonus eligibility. I clicked to tab 2. A line in bold read. Target cohort, 45 plus legacy tenure. Priority, pre-review cycle exit. Now I continued, voice calm as dry ice. If this is consistent, great. But if not, we may have a pattern of discriminatory targeting based on age and salary class. Which is concerning. Carl tried to interrupt. Janet, but I was already clicking into Slack. Window open. Channel #general. Message box already filled in from last night. Leadership Transparency Initiative. Please review attached file. Monday Cap Draft V3 Final XLSX. This document was used to determine severance limitations for senior staff. I encourage everyone to verify whether similar metrics were applied to their own exit terms. HR. Feel free to clarify publicly. And I hit send. The file loaded. The little preview popped up with its colorful graphs and blood red cells. And then, just for good measure, I said into the mic, I've also CC'd this call recording to the board, as well as a legal consultant. If anything I've shared is inaccurate, I invite you to correct it in writing. HR Barbie closed her laptop first. Slammed it, actually. Carl mumbled something about needing to follow up offline. Donna stared into the void like it owed her rent. I clicked leave meeting before they could regroup. It was 9:12 a.m., and the fire had just been lit. The moment that spreadsheet hit #general, the whole digital air in the company thickened like a thunderhead before the lightning. You could feel it, even through a screen. The little eyeball icons started stacking up fast, faster than on any corporate memo or holiday potluck sign-up I'd ever seen. 72 views in under a minute. Then 90, then 140. People were clicking like they'd smelled blood in the break room. And what a feast it was. Tab after tab of dirty laundry pressed between cells and formulas. Column headers like, suggested maximum severance by age bracket performance exemption overrides, leadership only, Q4 executive bonus reallocation funds source, severance reduction on the right margin. One had left a comment bubble in yellow. Make sure to delete this before review committee sees it. They hadn't, I hadn't, and now no one could unsee it. HR tried to pull the plug instantly. Donna's voice crackled back over the Zoom like static soaked in panic. I think we're done here, Janet. This isn't a productive use of company channels. I leaned into the camera. Just a hair. Enough for the moment to crystallize. Recording saved, I said evenly. Board CC Ed. Carl went mute, literally. I saw him reach off screen, probably yanking the Ethernet cord like it could make this all go away. Barbie blinked 3 times in a row like she was rebooting her personality. I could have stopped there, but I didn't. I toggled back to the Zoom share and clicked into a folder labeled Slack Legacy Logs. Up came a screen grab from the MGMT Lean Discussion Q3 thread. Alan D. S. greatest hit. Let her walk quiet. She's old school, not the whistleblower type. That stayed on screen for exactly 5 seconds. Enough for anyone recording to catch it. Enough for anyone watching live to screenshot and spread it like wildfire. Back in Slack, reactions started pouring in. Fire eyes, flushed face, one of the engineers just typed. Oh my god, is this real? Then came a quieter message from a user I didn't recognize. At JB, thank you. I thought I was losing my mind when they forced me out in August. I knew something was off. 3 more DMs followed. One of them included the phrase class action. I felt high, not euphoric. This wasn't glee, it was control. For the first time in weeks, months maybe, I was steering the damn car instead of being strapped to the hood like a hood ornament from a dying decade. I sat there, still as glass, letting the chaos unfold. Emails pinged. Zoom notifications popped up like frightened prairie dogs. Slack servers probably sweat-coated themselves into a corner. And somewhere in a pristine boardroom, someone was realizing their Q4 optics just caught fire. I closed my laptop, not slammed, not triumphant, just done. They wanted to erase me with a smile and a severance that wouldn't cover car repairs. Instead, I handed them the mirror, and it was cracked beyond repair. The first hour after I dropped the file was digital arson. Slack exploded like a church basement full of firecrackers and buried guilt. I watched it all unfold from the Starbucks across the street, sipping burnt espresso out of a paper cup that tasted like justice and stale cinnamon. By 10:07 a.m., the #general channel had over 400 messages. The thread splintered into offshoots, #transparency 2025, #WTFHR, and the brutal #Monday Cap survivors. Some were just disbelief. Can someone confirm this isn't a hoax? Others were fury. I was let go in September with 2 weeks. I had 14 years. Who approved this? Then came the receipts. Screenshots, emails, forwarded PDFs, people pulling their own files, comparing exit packages, demanding legal review. It was like watching an HR Frankenstein monster wake up and realize who stitched it together. At 10:39 a.m., a company-wide calendar alert dropped. Emergency board review noon today, mandatory attendance, leadership only. Translation: the peasants are revolting. The castle's on fire. Find the cleanest rug to sweep the bodies under. By lunch, legal Slack status flipped to do not disturb. PR had gone dark. The chief culture officer posted a single emoji, grimacing face, then deleted it 30 seconds later. And then the DM came through. Sender, KCM Workforce Planning Analyst. Hey, I don't know if you remember me, I was the one who got stuck doing headcount overlays last quarter. I just wanted to say thank you. Also, I was next. Alan flagged me in that same Slack thread you posted. I'm 46, 10 years in. He had me scheduled for Q1 optimization. I wouldn't have known if you hadn't dropped the file. You saved me. I didn't type anything back for a while, just stared at the message, breathing in the weight of it. That was the moment I knew I hadn't just burned the house down. I'd unlocked the damn fire exits. At 2 p.m., I walked back into the office one last time. No one stopped me. Half the staff were in closed-door huddles, the other half refreshing their inboxes like the next email might contain a severance grenade or a subpoena. I didn't clear my desk, didn't pack a box. Just walked straight to my locker, grabbed my coat, and slipped a USB drive from behind a loose ceiling tile into my purse. Red plastic, labeled in Sharpie, break in case of bullshit. I passed Alan D. in the hallway. He didn't make eye contact. His phone was pressed to his ear like it was the last lifeline on a sinking cruise ship. I didn't smile, just nodded, like you do to a man standing on railroad tracks, not realizing the horn in the distance is for him. By Friday, I had a job interview lined up. Smaller firm, better ethics. A female CTO who'd already DM'd me asking if I'd be willing to help clean up their compliance spine. Her exact words: I wasn't sure if I'd take it yet. I wasn't even sure I wanted another desk, another badge, another office birthday cake with stale frosting and fake laughs. But I knew one thing: I walked out on my own terms. Not fired, not broken, not silent. And somewhere in that building I left behind, a lot of people were finally waking up. To the truth, to themselves, to each other. It wasn't over. But the reckoning had begun. Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. sharp. The company held what would later be known as the Morgue Zoom. Calendar title: All Hands, Open Forum Transparency, Trust and Moving Forward. Nobody believed a word of it. Every employee was required to attend, cameras on. The call opened with that awful corporate jazz hold music, the kind that makes you question whether joy ever existed. By 10:02, over 600 people were logged in, mute icons blinking like a digital jury box. I wasn't there. Not officially, I was gone. Off the books, ghost in the system, but my files, still pinned in hash general like a crime scene Polaroid no one dared unpin first. HR tried to scrub them Monday afternoon, but someone with admin privileges kept re-uploading. Anonymous, fast, tenacious. Every time they deleted the spreadsheet, it popped back up 5 minutes later under a new file name. Monday Cap Fina, L Final XLSX Pension Purge Love Allen XLSX Legacy Kill List, Do Not Delete XLSX. They gave up after the sixth attempt. So now, with the world watching, HR tried to spin it. Lorna, the head of HR, all pearl earrings and rattled breath, appeared on screen looking like a ghost freshly evicted from its haunting. She smiled, but the muscles weren't playing along. Hi everyone. Thanks for making time today. We want to have an honest conversation about the documents circulating and some misinterpretations that may have occurred. That's when it happened. Another user requested to share screen. Lorna, clearly flustered, clicked approve without checking. And right there, full screen, came a meme. Big yellow block letters on top of the severance spreadsheet. We're outsourcing you by Monday, okay? Underneath, Alan D. A Slack quote pasted in Comic Sans. She's old school, not the whistleblower type. The call went dead quiet. No one laughed, no one spoke, just silence thick enough to chew. Then the reactions started. Skull Firecracker pushed in a slow crawl of heart emojis, crying faces, legal scales, one gavel. Then someone dropped a screenshot of their severance doc with a red circle around the exact cap figure from my spreadsheet. Lorna's face froze mid-blink. Not metaphorically, literally, like a cursed Zoom glitch caught between shame and cardiac arrest. She tried to speak. Her mouth opened, closed, the camera trembled. A Slack notification pinged on her screen, live, visible to everyone. Legal department, stop talking now, do not comment. The meme stayed on screen for 14 seconds before the host ended the meeting. But it didn't matter. The damage had been done, not just to reputation, to faith, to every brittle promise of people-first values they'd printed on banners and mugs. By Friday, the board released a statement about independent reviews and internal miscommunications. Alan D. was placed on administrative leave. Donna from legal suddenly retired early. And Lorna vanished from Slack like a ghost that finally got the memo. But me? I was just a name now, not an employee, not a martyr, just whispered about over burner chats and hallway glances. They called me the spreadsheet widow, the severance ghost. My favorite? Janet the quiet guillotine. No press interviews, no victory laps, I just lived. And somewhere in my purse, that USB drive still hums softly, waiting, in case someone forgets what happens when you try to erase the wrong woman with a spreadsheet. Thanks for watching, you cubicle warriors. Hit that subscribe button. Unless you're my old boss, then you're on your own. Revenge of the coffee pot strikes again.